Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Talk Therapy Live. This is our final installment from the series of the ingredients of a great relationship. So, welcome. Going to give people a few more minutes to come on in. I see I have some viewers. Hi, Clarissa. Glad to have you. Good evening, Apostle Rucker. So glad to have you with me this evening. So, we are going to wrap up. We've been here all month talking about the ingredients of a great relationship. So excited to kind of bring it to a closure this evening. And I'm going to kind of wrap up and give a summation of what we've talked about over the month. However, I've gotten some feedback, and so I want to also respond to some of the feedback that I have received. So, good evening and welcome, everyone. Please share, please subscribe, and please like the broadcast. And as February is kind of coming to an end, we're going to wrap up again talking about love, talking about a great relationship. So just going to give a couple more seconds for people to come on in. If you're joining from Facebook, please put your name in the chat that we know who's with us this evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Talk Therapy Live with S. Candy Winfield. Uh, that is me, and I am a licensed professional counselor. And I am going to be talking about the ingredients of a great relationship. So, I want to kind of share a little bit about some of the feedback that I got. Last week, I kind of talked about the difference between a committed relationship and being in an exclusive relationship. And one of our viewers said that when she heard the difference, she said, I need to find out what I'm in. And so she went back to her significant other and asked, and kind of said, are we in a committed relationship or are we exclusive? And his response was, well, aren't they the same? And she said, no, they are not after viewing the broadcast from last week. And so she told him the difference. And remember, the difference is that in a committed relationship, you are in it for the long haul. Regardless of what happens, you're going to work through your issues. You're going to work through any problems that come up, and you are committed to staying in the relationship. Whereas an exclusive relationships means the time that we are together, we are not seeing anyone else. However, I'm not necessarily committed to you. So that may mean if someone else comes along that I'm interested in, I may leave, even though we had been exclusive. So there is a difference between being in an exclusive relationship and a committed. So when she explained to her significant other, he did say that they were in a committed relationship. So yay to that. And again, sometimes we have to ask questions and get clarity of what's going on. Some of the other feedback that I received is they asked me to talk about just the different types of relationships after I kind of made those distinctions. People wanted to know, well, what kind of relationships are there? I thought it was just, we're a couple. So tonight I'm going to kind of start out by sharing and talking about the different types of relationships. And then again, I will wrap up with kind of summarizing everything and all of the ingredients that we have talked about over the month. Let's see. I'm gonna just kind of go through the comments. Committed relationships. Yes, we're in it. You're in it for the long haul. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, if you're joining me, put your name in the chat so that I know that you're with me this evening. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So we have been talking about all of the ingredients of a great relationship, and listed are some of the things that we've talked about: affection, gentleness, appreciation, empathy, communication, boundaries, honesty, validation, respect, and vulnerability. So, again, all of these ingredients are necessary and they make a difference. Just like, and I've kind of used the analogy before of baking a cake, sometimes you have to add a certain amount at a certain time. And that is also true of these ingredients. There's sometimes when you need to be more gentle, more forgiving, uh, always need to be honest. And again, there's some ingredients that are required 100% of the time. Others more to agree to a certain degree, kind of just depending what's going on in the relationship. And so they're all important. And we've talked about all of them. Um, Again, some of the feedback was, can you talk about the different types of relationship? So I wanted to do that and kind of start out talking about the different types of relationships tonight. Of course, we have the covenant relationship or the marital relationship. And of course, that is the one that is ordained by God. You enter into a covenant. A covenant is a promise that you promise to be committed. You promise to love this person till death do you part. And again, that is a part of the marital relationship, or also called the covenant relationship. Then, of course, we have the romantic relationship. And this probably takes place, obviously, before you enter the covenant, that you are in a romantic relationship. So you have feelings of love, there's an attraction, there's intimacy. And then you also come to a point of commitment. And once you come to a point of commitment, is when you decide, I'm going to be in covenant with this person. Then we have the platonic relationship. The platonic relationship is one where there is not any sexual involvement or sexual activity, but we're our friends, where there is still intimacy, there is still closeness, there is still sometimes even commitment. A platonic relationship can be of the same sex, such as girlfriends, or it can be of opposite sex. But again, it is more of a close friendship without sex. A codependent relationship, and this is a type of relationship. There are codependent relationships. It's not one of the healthiest relationships, and you definitely don't want to be in a codependent relationship. A codependent relationship kind of means that it's one way and it's unbalanced. Typically, one person is doing much more than the other person. One is a giver, the other tends to be a taker. Um, One is kind of taking care of the other. A codependent relationship exists sometimes because, again, they are codependent on one another, whereas the person who is kind of doing all of the work and doing the caretaking kind of needs somebody to need them. So they come into the relationship doing too much. They get their value and worthiness from showing up and doing rather than just being in the relationship. The other person typically does not reciprocate, and that's why it's kind of one way or balanced. Hello, Latoya. Thank you for joining. I see that you're with me tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Our next relationship is kind of the casual relationship. Is also called now, currently, the terminology is a situationship. A situationship is, again, a relationship where there's really not a commitment. I'm in it as long as I'm getting what I want. Uh, I'm not necessarily going to provide you with what you want, but as long as I'm getting what I want, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to stay in the relationship. Again, it's kind of unbalanced. It's not future focused at all. And it's self centered because one or the other, sometimes both of the individuals, are in it to get something. They're whether it's a need or whether it's finances or whether it's, they're just there to get something. They're not committed. Casual relationships and situationships are kind of on a continuum, right? One end is just it's also called friends with benefits. You know, there again, no commitment, no really love feelings. I'm just here because of the need that I have. So it can be as simple and as loose as a one night stand in terms of a casual relationship. And then again, on the other end, it's kind of this situationship, this friends with benefits kind of relationship. And again, not going anywhere. And you don't want to find yourself in this type of relationship unless it's working for you. But know that it's not going anywhere. So why would you want to spend time in a relationship like that? Then, of course, and I'm seeing this in the office, um, there is what is now called the open relationship. And an open relationship is one where there is up to three people that are in the relationship sharing themselves with one another. It is consensual that they do this. They see people sometimes outside of the three people, and sometimes they can be with someone in terms of an intimate way and in a sexual way with someone outside of the dyad or outside of the three. Sometimes it's usually involving three people. So it's open. I've also had clients refer to it as we have, quote unquote, an open bed. So these things are existing in the world that we live in today. And then, of course, we have what's called the toxic or the unhealthy relationship. And this is a relationship, again, where it has some form of abuse, whether it is emotional, verbal, or even physical abuse. It can also be very damaging in terms of um, emotionally, again, just not getting your needs met, belittling, shaming, causing emotional devastation and emotional harm. Typically, when you leave these types of relationship, your self-esteem has been shattered. You don't feel good about yourself, and you almost have to rebuild yourself, kind of lose yourself in this type of relationship. And sometimes when you leave the relationship, you need counseling. You need to kind of, again, rebuild and restore yourself. And so this is also a type of relationship that you kind of want to stay away from. Any comments or questions about the different types of relationship? And again, I wanted to cover that because it had come up in terms of some of the feedback that I received. People wanted to know about the different types of relationship. So I want to go into again what we have talked about in terms of the ingredients for a healthy relationship and for a great relationship. Um, I haven't talked about affection. And so, affection, of course, is something that we want to experience in our relationships, right? And affection is talking about the ebb and flow between two people, where each individual is giving and receiving a certain amount of contact and interaction at all times. So, again, it's reciprocal, it's not one way. Both are receiving, both are giving, whether it's through a hug or a kiss or a phone call or a gift. Affection is the way that you show others in your life how important they are, that you care, that they're important to you, and that you want them in your life. So, in showing affection, you often are going to pay very close attention to their love language. The person that you are in relationship with, you want to show them love, have them experience love in their own love language. So it becomes important to know your significant other's love language. And so affection is one of the ingredients that's going to make your relationship great. Then we have empathy. And empathy is a key quality in terms of a healthy relationship. Empathy means that you're trying to understand what your partner is feeling and why they're feeling it. You are going to be willing to see things through their lens and not your own. And so you're being present with your mate, you're listening, you're paying attention, you're seeking to understand what is going on in their heart that is causing them to feel that way, that is causing them to say what they're saying. When there is empathy, you come to a point of being able to know what your partner needs because you study them, you pay attention, you know their love language, you know their body language. You are able to kind of connect and see them in a way that is very understanding and caring. So, empathy becomes very, very important. When there is a lack of empathy in a relationship, you tend to feel like your partner, your significant other, is wrong or different, different in a bad way. That is just kind of wrong or bad, rather than understanding and accepting that it can be that they're just different. Kindness. Kindness is so important, and kindness is lacking today. Hello, Monique. Thank you for joining. We are talking about the ingredients of a great relationship. So glad to have you join on in. And again, kindness is lacking today. And here you see all of the words that make up kindness: being benevolent, giving, being gentle, friendly, helping. Just showing up is a part of kindness. And you want to be kind to the person in the way that you would like to receive kindness. Honesty. Honesty is so important. And again, today, integrity and honesty is lacking in many settings. And so, in your personal, intimate relationships, honesty becomes important. In a healthy relationship, you are showing up as your true, authentic self. No facades, no lies, no deceit, and no secrets. There is transparency, and you can share. Know that this takes time. Sometimes being too honest and sharing too much too soon can cause harm or damage. And so you have to kind of gauge when to disclose, what to disclose. And one of the things I always say is you disclose at the level that the person that you are with is disclosing. And so you kind of keep it even. You don't want to share and tell all everything in your background, but you know nothing about their background. So you share and disclose at the level that the person is disclosing. Vulnerability, and we talked about this. And vulnerability being the distance between being closed off or, again, on a continuum, and the other end is that there is total trust. And again, in a healthy and great relationship, you have to trust each other. Trust is also something that takes time. A person has to show up, however, in the relationship, being able to trust, being able to show trust, but also trust others. To become one, you have to be able to share your feelings, dreams, hopes, and desires, as well as your frailties, as well as your idiosyncrasies, as well as those things that, aren't so nice. But you have to be able to trust someone to share at that level. You have to give of yourself spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So that requires trust. And know that when trust is broken in a relationship, it can be repaired. However, that also takes time and it requires work. And what happens is that most people don't want to do the work that is required to rebuild trust. Appreciation. How many of you know that when you know you are appreciated and valued, that alone makes you feel good being in your relationship? And so it is the opposite of feeling like you're being taken for granted. You are appreciated, you're valued, you're affirmed. for what you bring to the relationship, but just for who you are. Words of affirmation are used, gifts are used. And again, we go back to loving in your love language. When someone loves you and brings something or does something in your love language, you know, and that you are appreciated, that they've thought about you and they've thought about what you like and what makes you feel loved and appreciated. So, appreciation, again, is one of these characteristics that is so important in establishing and having a great relationship. And then we talk about validation. When sharing with your significant other, you will not always agree. And you don't have to always agree, but you do have to be accepting and understanding of where they are, even when it's different, especially when those opinions and thoughts and beliefs are not aligning with how you think and believe. Uh, don't make different wrong or bad. And I've said that over and over. And again, a lot of times when communication breaks down in a relationship, it is because we're not validating, we're not appreciating, and we're not accepting someone being different than how we see it or how we feel or how we think. So don't allow different to become bad or wrong. Seek understanding so that you can accept and so that you can validate them. And you end up saying, now that you've explained it to me, I understand it. I see it the way you see it. That makes sense to me now. I would have never thought that because I'm thinking it's something else. So again, the dialogue becomes very, very important. And you want to validate and show support and show unconditional love. Boundaries. People know, and particularly my clients know that I am the boundary queen. And so boundaries are necessary in a relationship because they protect, they define, and they work. And so you have to know and set boundaries in your relationship, defining the line that can't be crossed. Boundaries keep the good stuff in and they allow the bad stuff to stay out. And boundaries are not necessarily an ultimatum. What boundaries do is, again, they allow you to have a dialogue so you can determine what's going to happen in the relationship. So boundaries work, and boundaries, again, are necessary. Forgiveness. And this is a big one. And this is one where a lot of people kind of get stuck because we don't necessarily understand the process of forgiveness. And that forgiveness begins by making a decision that I am going to forgive. Uh, Forgiveness always restores the relationship back to the good place. And when you're in a relationship with someone that you love, that you're intimate, that you're spending a lot of time with, there's a great chance that they're going to do something that you don't like. When you love someone, you're vulnerable. And so it also increases the likelihood that they could hurt you. And forgiveness is what restores the relationship after a hurt, after a violation, after a betrayal. And in an intimate couple relationship, you have to forgive over and over and over because, again, it restores the relationship. So, again, this is an area where, if you're having trouble with forgiveness and you're stuck, counseling may be something that you need to seek out. I talked about an apology and why an apology matters. And we kind of went through this cycle of what an apology does and why an apology is necessary. And so, again, with forgiveness, an apology is sometimes, most of the time, necessary. And again, when you apologize, you're repenting, saying that I am going to remove that behavior. I am not going to do it anymore. And so an apology matters. Then, of course, we talked about respect. And respect is so important in a relationship. And I went over some ways to show respect, showing acceptance, again, appreciation, and unconditional positive regard. Again, not allowing differences to become a problem. Listening to your significant other. And listening, again, with an ear to understand and not to give a rebuttal, shows respect. Be non judgmental. Encourage, esteem your significant other. Lift them up and support them. Be kind. We talked about kindness. Always speak highly of your mate, particularly to other people, particularly in public, and especially to your family. Because when you say all the bad things that are going on in your relationship, your family remembers. They don't forget. And they're thinking about it when your significant other shows up. So you always want to speak kindly of your significant other. Be willing to compromise, forgive quickly, and apologize shows respect. And again, communicate, communicate, and communicate. Having dialogue, having a discussion, explaining, sharing your feelings, your emotions are very, very important in terms of showing respect. And then commitment. We talked about commitment last week. And again, a committed relationship is interpersonal relationship based upon and agreed upon commitment to one another involving love, faith, trust, honesty, and openness. There are forms of committed relationships include a close friendship, a long-term relationship, engagement, and of course, marriage. A committed relationship is one in which you and your partner intentionally say yes to a future together. So, again, a commitment is showing that we are moving forward, that I'm committed for the long haul. I'm in it for the duration. And a committed relationship is based on a promise to love, to trust, to have faith, to be caring, and again, to be honest in the relationship. And those are the ingredients of a great relationship. And again, all of them are working simultaneously, some to a greater degree than others, kind of depending on where you are in your relationship, but all are very, very necessary. Um, know that, if there's an area that you need to work on, that I offer couple counseling. I have a special going on again this month, and we're running out of the month. So if you want to take advantage of this, please do so. And that is where I'm offering 3 sessions for only $350. Other services that I have for couples, of course, would be premarital counseling. So if you know someone, or maybe your child or a um, relative or someone is considering getting married, offer them premarital counseling and make sure and encourage them to seek premarital counseling. And premarital counseling is something that you engage in when you decide or make a decision. I think this is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with. It is not something that you do after you have bought a dress, sent out invitations, um, paid money for a hall. Because when something comes out in the premarital counseling that should be a red flag, you don't want to stop because you've invested too much. So, premarital counseling is when you have made a decision. I think this is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life. And then I have a service called ICU. And ICU is for the couples that are really in distress, having a really, really hard time. And couple counseling, that 50-minute session once a week, really doesn't cut it because they kind of go back and they do the same thing over and over. So with ICU, I work with a couple for a minimum of 2 hours, but up to 4 hours to really get to the roots of the problems and have some interventions so that they can successfully utilize couple counseling. So again, this is a service that is unique to Suddenly Professional Counseling. It's something that I created by realizing that most of the time when couples come for counseling, it's too late. They don't like each other, they're unable to communicate, and counseling really doesn't work because it's not enough time to give them the skills and the tools to be able to utilize counseling effectively. So I created ICU to help with that. And I want to thank everyone for joining me for this Talk Therapy Live series of the ingredients of a great relationship. Know that all of the episodes are available for replay on my YouTube channel. So if you didn't see any or missed any of the segments, take time to go back and view them. I go into depth in all of these ingredients. And again, you want to make your relationship great. You want to show up and be able to have the best relationship and feel good being in your relationship. So take the time to view all of the different episodes that we talked. There were four this month. I also want to just kind of make you aware of some of the other programs that I have available. What is coming up in March is going to be my Majestic Woman program, and that is a 5-week course, and it's called the Majestic Woman Mindset course. Registration is now open, and you can go to my website. This is a 5-week series where I walk you through the values of a majestic woman. And her values kind of dictate her decision making. And the majestic woman concept came from um, my work as a therapist for 30 years and listening and hearing and working with women, realizing that there are certain qualities and characteristics and values that allow you to be successful. And so I have pulled all of those values together and I call her the majestic woman. And when you walk in and exercise these values and allow these values to dictate your decision making, you are going to be successful in every area of your life. And so join me. The course starts on March 27th. It is another virtual experience and we meet for 5 consecutive Mondays. And again, I'm walking you through and introducing you to the mindset of a majestic woman. So, again, more is coming. And next month, I'll be coming live talking about the values and introducing you to the values of a majestic woman so that you are abreast and aware of what the course is going to be like. So please join me. Thank you for taking the time this evening to share with me. And any questions or comments that you have that I can take, I'd be more than happy at this time to answer any questions. Thank you, Clarissa, for joining. Thank you, Monique, for joining, Apostle Rucker, and Latoya. I see you're on, Apostle Rucker. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. We are again 30 minutes, and so I don't want to hold you. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'll give you a second to post them and I can address them or answer. Otherwise, I'll be looking for you next month when I come back presenting the values of a majestic woman. Let's see. That you are so welcome, Latoya. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? And Jasmine, I think you are on. Thank you for joining. Kelly is on. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining again. So, thank you so much for participating. I will see you next month when we talk about the values of a majestic woman. Thank you so much. Bye bye.